I have starlight burning right above me.
A long time ago, beyond a podcast within a podcast, welcome to yet another podcast within the RuPalp's Podrace podcast universe, the Glup Shittisode, where we devote an entire episode talking about a single, lesser-known Star Wars character, otherwise known as a Glup Shitto. This episode we'll be talking about our one and only bestie, who we never shut the fuck up about, who is literally in only 2 books and a comic that is an adaptation of that first book, but who is possibly the most important character in all of Star Wars canon, Eli Vanto. I'm Klaudia. My pronouns are she, her. You can find me on social media at Klaudia says, K-A-L-U-D-I-A says. Instead of a gender of the week this week, we're going to ask a fun little question. So, what do we think the N that is his middle name stands for? Because his canonical name is Eli N. Vanto. We don't know what it stands for. I personally think that it stands for no bitches.
Not no bitches.
I think that he got made fun of as a kid. And everybody was like, Eli no bitches, Vanto. But then
that would suck if your parents gave you the middle name no bitches.
Honestly, I don't have a reason behind that. I just thought it was funny.
So are you saying that the Saturn tradition is just like whatever your awful nickname was as a kid becomes your middle name?
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's kind of like a Chiss, honestly, because like they earn like the last end of their name is like their little end of their name. Like we don't know what the Nuru on the end of Thrawn's name is. Maybe that also means no bitch.
No, not them both being no bitches. Anyway, I'm Jess. My pronouns are they, them. You can find me on social media at Kawaii Jessyo. And I think that the N stands for like Norbert or something.
That's so hateful.
I was trying to think of like a really terrible name that starts with N. Sorry if there's anyone named Norbert out there.
What about Nigel?
Oh my god, Nigel? Like Nigel Thornberry?
No, I'm just imagining Eli's dad is just Nigel Thornberry.
No!
And he's one of the Thornberries are just them on Lysatra.
I hate that. That means Nigel Thornberry is like racist towards Thrawn because Eli's dad is kind of racist towards Thrawn.
That was your first thought.
I'm sorry.
Oh my god. We have 2 special guests to talk about Eli with us today. Instead of the rest of the RuPalp's hosts, they're being questioned by the Empire. I don't know where they went. They're frozen in I almost said frozen in Beskar. I was like, that's not correct.
Sent to the Chiss Ascendancy.
Yeah, they've been sent to the Chiss Ascendancy.
Why would you not say sent to the Chiss Ascendancy as the first thing?
Because I'm stupid. So we have 2 guests with us today instead. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Mackenzie. My pronouns are she, her. You can find me on TikTok at MacToReality or on Twitter at RDocRanch. And I think that the N for Eli's middle name doesn't stand for anything, actually. I think it's just an N. His middle name is just the letter N.
That's very powerful.
His parents are like, I don't know, Eli Vanto sounds like... maybe there's multiple like Eli Vantos actually on Lysatra, so they're like, we gotta distinguish our
it's like when there's multiple like Emilys in a class, so it's like Emily R and Emily T.
Oh my god,
it's Eli.
My best friend was Julia, but there were like 3 Julias, so her middle name was Julia Marie, so everyone called she was the Julia Marie, and then for a while she went by JM. So now I'm gonna think Eli went by EN Vanto for like a bit.
All right. Hello, my name is Josh. My pronouns are he, him. And you can find me on the TikTok at Coughing Skywalker. I think the N in Eli and Vanto stands for Nessie, not as in like the Loch Ness Monster, but specifically the Twilight daughter.
No, not freaking Renaissance.
You named my Eli after the Loch Ness Monster.
His parents were huge fans of the Star Wars Twilight movie saga.
No, not
quickly. What is Twilight called in the Star Wars universe?
I think it's still Twilight.
Star Twilight.
Here's the thing. I recently watched Little Witch Academia for the first time, and they have a book series fictionally in there that is clearly supposed to be Twilight called Nightfall, but that is also the parody name for Twilight in Turning Red. So I feel like Nightfall has to be the across the board, across all universes name for Twilight when we
The
are
multiverse of Twilight.
Yeah,
I can't.
Yeah, the multiverse. And now,
this is cursed already because in the other Glup Shittisode we also talked about Twilight. Is this just going to be a thing every time I have a Glup Shittisode? Twilight has to be brought up.
To be fair, whenever we record the Mystery Spotcast, we have to talk about Thrawn. Every single time it happens, whether we cut it out or not, we have talked about Thrawn. It's a bit of... You know what? The Nightfall thing also makes sense because, yes, I just watched Little Witch Academia, and there is a point where one of the characters just whips out a lightsaber, and you're like, girl, you're a witch, and you have wands. Why do you suddenly have a lightsaber? And I was like, this is Studio Trigger's audition for doing Star Wars, and she has, like, red hair and a bodysuit, and you're like, oh, that's literally Mara Jade. She just, like, she goes from being, like, a witch professor to straight up Mara Jade, and you're like, what the fuck is going on in this show? And now this makes sense. Now it's all in the same universe. Mara Jade. Okay, Little Witch Academia exists in the same universe as Star Wars. Got it. Okay, I got it. Where is Mara Jade? She's on Earth, becoming Shiny Chariot.
No, listen, because freaking Studio Trigger just has like an extended Studio Trigger universe, and I guess the Studio Trigger universe exists within the Star Wars universe.
That's very troubling to me. Wow. Eli Nessie Vanto is so... Now I just thought Eli Nessaros Vanto, and we can't go down that road.
No. Anyway, let's talk about what a Glup Shitto is again, just to, let everyone know.
A Glup Shitto, as all good things do, comes from a silly little Tumblr post. It was a Tumblr post that was, like, making fun of, like, when a new, like, show or trailer for Star Wars things come out, and everybody's like, there's my little guy! But they always have, how Star Wars names are. They always have some fucking weird-ass name, or a regular-ass name, and nobody knows who the fuck it is, and so everybody else is just like, who the fuck is that? I believe the original post goes, every time a new Star Wars movie or show is announced, all the fans are like, OMG, Glup Shitto is back. And it evolved from, like, oh, Glup Shitto is a real character that we all know and love, to, like, this is a type of character. And, like, people have debated it. I personally think a Glup Shitto is, like, because Star Wars is so, everybody knows what it is, but, like, not everybody knows Star Wars. I believe that Glup Shitto is any character that if you walked up to a random person on the street and they don't know who the fuck it is, that's a Glup Shitto. Like, Ahsoka, once she gets her TV show, she may move out of Glup Shitto territory, but, like, you walk up to somebody on the street and you ask them who Ahsoka is, they're not gonna know. But they're gonna know Darth Vader. Like, that kind of thing. So
they're gonna know Yoda and, like, Luke.
They're like, who's Princess Leia? They're gonna know. But if you ask them, like, who is... some people are like, oh, this person's not a Glup Shitto. I think they are a Glup Shitto. I do. And I had to make a whole TikTok about this because, like, people on TikTok, they're not on Tumblr, so there's a lot. But one may confuse the term with blorbo. The difference is this. It's kind of like rectangles and squares. So all Glup Shittos can be blorbos, but not all blorbos are Glup Shittos. And what is a blorbo? A blorbo is, in the phrase of how it is being used on Tumblr, oh, I love my blorbo from my show, which is just like my little guy from my show. So that could be anybody. Like Luke Skywalker could be your little guy. It could be a well-known character, or it could be some random as fuck character that only appears in 2 fucking books, like Eli Vanto.
Yeah, basically, Glup Shitto is like any, I don't want to use the term casual fan, but like any casual Star Wars fan who probably has maybe only seen the movies and is not having Star Wars brain rot would not know who this person is. Like, if, like what Klaudia said before, like if you mention them, it'd be like, wait, who is that?
Like, sadly, Cody is also a Glup Shitto, even though he's mentioned in the movies.
That's why in the last Glup Shittisode I said Cody kind of toes the line into the Glup Shitto territory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always like to use the test, like, if I was talking to my mom, would my mom know who this is?
It's like the boomer test. I mean, I use it for a lot of things. But yeah, the boomer test of, like, if I go, oh, like, Thrawn is still a Glup Shitto. If I go, oh, yeah, famous Star Wars character, even though he is one of the most famous Star Wars characters, Thrawn, she's not going to know who that is. She's not. They're just not gonna know.
Let's talk about Eli and his role, I guess, in the Thrawn books.
Or, as he's known in the Chiss Ascendancy, Evant.
They don't know about the end. Otherwise, he would have been involved.
No!
And he said in freaking treason, he's like, I can't let them know about the end because I don't want to be known as infant.
Reason. I think that's my big reason why I think that his middle name is just In. Because otherwise, why wouldn't he have been like, oh, well, I could have just told them my entire middle name and fixed that issue?
You're so right, actually.
He's good at math. He's not really good at languages, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well, he is good at languages.
Like, he technically knows like a couple languages.
Okay, well, 2 of them he grew up with. That's
still one more than most
That's like saying
people.
I'm good with languages because I grew up in a English and Spanish speaking home, even though I'm shit at it. Absolute garbage.
Learns Chew, which is
he
a
learned
pretty big
one
feat.
language. One.
But it's a very difficult language to learn.
Some people didn't even know about the language either. It's so rare.
I guess. I just want to, I guess we'll get into some Eli lore, but I scrolled through the Wikipedia page just to see, like, what do they put? Like, his Wikipedia page is very long and very detailed. Shout out to the Wikipedia editors. You're such icons. When you go to personality and traits, what I love is it really, even in the Wikipedia article, shouts out how gay it is. Like, I see what y'all were doing there, because here's some choice quotes from Wikipedia. Vanto came to regard Thrawn as his mentor, while Thrawn regarded Eli as one of the few loyal and trustworthy allies he could confide in. And then another sentence. At one point during the time when he reunited with Thrawn, after the Grand Admiral complimented a deduction he made, Vanto savored the warm glow he felt from the compliment. They put that on Wikipedia. They put it there. They were like, this is so important, it's gotta go in the Wikipedia page.
We need everyone to know about the warm glow.
The warm
The
glow.
specific word choice of warm glow.
Yeah. Warm glow. Let's discuss that. Also, Vanto displayed signs of non-platonic feelings for Vanya. Get that shit out of here! Get it out of here! But he did not pursue these as he did not want to find out what punishment there might be for fraternizing with comrades in the EDF. I'm like, now why? That might also be because after I read that book and there was an inkling of that, I was like, Timothy Zahn, I'm deleting that from my memory. I just wanted to highlight some things that they put in there about him. That they're like, by the way, this man, a little gay.
Timothy Zahn is good at anything. It's good. He's good at accidentally writing gay people.
Yeah, so I guess
true.
we should get into, like, I feel like, Mackenzie, you're probably an expert on this because you've read Legends Thrawn. I don't know how much you've read, Josh, but, like, you know, they asked Timothy Zahn, the author of the Thrawn novels, if people didn't know already from listening to our podcast, they asked Timmy to write Rough Day. No.
I was trying so hard not to bring up Rough Day. I was like, do not bring up Rough Day since Claudia's talking about Timothy Zahn. But you did it for me, so I guess here we go again. I
had to get it out.
I guess I really have read every Timothy Zahn book.
So they had him bring Thrawn into canon after Rebels. Like, he was like, I'm gonna write the canon backstory and try to connect it as much with Legends as possible. And a lot of people have said, like, it seems like Eli Vanto was kind of the new character to take the place of Pelion, who was kind of his second in command in Legends a lot. But then he accidentally wrote them to be, like, super gay and in love. So, Mackenzie, could you tell us a little bit about the differences between, like, Pelion and Eli and all that?
Yeah, so I think it is important to note that Pelion and Thrawn are also very fruity.
That's the
in
power
Legends.
of Timmy.
That's yeah. Thrawn has chemistry with, I think, almost every man he talks to in the books.
Could this be a situation of Timmy, now that it's a little more acceptable to write gay people in your books, even if it's subconscious because he didn't want to make it gay, like, to be like, all right, I'm gonna do this again, but a little gayer this time?
Maybe so. And I think so there's kind of two characters in the Legends books that I feel like Timothy Zahn kind of put into Eli Vanto, because it's Pelion, and then also George Cardis is in Outbound Flight and Choices of One. And and then also some of the other Legends books, but he's not like hanging out with Thrawn then. But anyway, so like, and his character I feel like is very similar to Eli. And so I feel like Timothy Zahn kind of like integrated those two characters and put them into Eli, but then Eli is also like his own very distinct person. Like all of his wild space backstory and everything, that's pretty much unique to Eli. And I think that's part of what makes Eli's character so interesting, that he comes from kind of this like backwater world, things like that. So I would say I think reading the Legends books was actually a really good insight to see like where Eli's character might have come from, but then also what Timothy Zahn decided needed to be done differently to kind of showcase Thrawn in this new environment, like as he starts out in the Empire and like having to deal with all the xenophobia and stuff that Thrawn faces as an alien in the Empire. I think having Eli there as well as kind of almost like the reader insert was very helpful for those Thrawn books.
The N-ification. That's what the N stands for.
But not the N standing for YN.
I'm so sorry. Oh my god. And then we come back to Rough Day.
Actually, you know, Eli's name, there's a silent Y in front of Eli.
Just like Salamiri.
Oh my god.
Oh god, I'm so sorry. Mackenzie was making this like wonderful point. And I'm sitting here
I think my point was pretty much over. So
I mean, Timmy has talked about a couple times where he's been like, yeah, I wanted to show like, you know, that whole thing about like xenophobia, whatever. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna create another character who also experiences this like with Thrawn, whatever. And then in doing so, he accidentally created a gay romance. And I think that's how he writes, where he's like, oh, I want to do this specific thing. I'm gonna create a character to show this thing. Oops, I made it a little, I did it. I did that successfully, but I created gay people by accident. Like, for example, like Arlani and Wootro, like, there's supposed to be a parallel with Thrawn and Eli, clearly. And I'm like, you just made it a little gayer. You just, okay, all right. That's the only way you know how to write a bitch. I respect it. You know, I'm obsessed with that man's mind.
That was one of the things when I reread all the Thrawn books after I finished all the Ascendancy books. I was like, how can you say Eli and Thrawn aren't gay when they have the same dynamic as Arlani and Wootro? And then I remembered Arlani and Wootro aren't technically gay either.
I have to remind myself, so I'm like, oh, there's gay representation in all these different Star Wars books. And Thrawn, oh, wait a minute.
No.
Yeah, I always have to remind myself too that I was like, there's not actual
no.
canon
I'm
gay
like,
representation there.
Like, I think gay representation in Star Wars, and I'm like, Cantum Psy, Thrawn writing that diary entry to Eli, everybody else, and Comac, obviously, but like, I'm like, oh, who else is there? I mean, there's Dr. Aphra, obviously, but I mean, the biggest inspiration, obviously, for Eli, and really any character like Pelion, or basically the reader insert character, the straight man in the scene character, the for Thrawn to play off of, it's obviously the Sherlock and Watson dynamic, and it is, of course, the inherent homosexuality of Sherlock Holmes that we come back to. You know, he's like, yeah, I gotta have this character here, and like, whether he's doing it subconsciously or consciously, I mean, when you create a Watson, you have created a homosexual. That's just, you can't avoid it. It's not, you can't. I'm so sorry, Eli. You're bigger than being gay, but that's all I talk about. Sorry, bestie.
I did want to say, I guess, that one of the things I really like about Eli, and that I think does set him apart from some of the other, like, maybe more reader insert characters, like the characters that you're supposed to relate to in these books, is Eli is so smart. And like, not to talk bad on Pelion or George Cardis or Samacro or anybody.
I think you should.
They are not on the same level Eli Vanto is. Just like, not so much intellectually, but in the way that Eli understands the connections that Thrawn makes in a way like no other character can. Like, obviously, Thrawn is like his own thing. He's above and beyond anybody else. Nobody can quite compare to him. But Eli is the one that gets closest to like understanding Thrawn and what the heck goes on in his little brain. You know, like he kind of gets Thrawn more so than any other character that I feel like Thrawn is paired in canon or legends.
It's interesting you say that because on the Wikipedia article, they list him as the deuteragonist of Thrawn 2017. Like that there's two protagonists. It's not just Thrawn, which makes sense.
I totally agree with that. Like there's a lot of that book that is like from Eli's like POV, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, even though it's technically...
Also Price, but we don't talk about her.
Yeah, but even though it's technically Thrawn telling, like, that one is kind of... Is that one in the first person? Like, that one he's telling it in his diary or whatever?
Yeah.
It's like... It's because it's, like, their dual journey through it. It's very unique. I don't know. I think... And I've said to some people, and you guys can correct me, other than Thrawn himself, and then maybe eventually Dr. Aphra, who is newer. Not that new, but who is newer. I feel like Eli is one of the most, like, beloved and popular Star Wars characters who originated from a book or a comic. Thrawn was the big one for a while, and then we had Dr. Aphra, but also, like, technically, Thrawn wasn't the protagonist of, like, Heir to the Empire or anything. Like, it's about Luke Skywalker and Mara Jade. Like, he's the villain. Like, he's not the protagonist. So for a while, he was the Glup Shittisode of the story. And what's just interesting, and, like, Dr. Aphra, she was a side character in Vader, but then she got her own series. So now she's a main character. And Thrawn has now appeared on screen. Eli Vanto has never appeared on screen, has never starred in his own thing, except for Thrawn 2017, where he was one of the deuteragonists. And that's it. Like, and I was like, there's something special about this little guy that people went, I've decided to make him my entire personality over anybody. I mean, I'm sure there are some High Republic characters that are going to get there, for sure. But I feel like I have not met a single person who's ever been like, I don't like Eli Vanto, or, oh my God, he's my favorite little bestie. Like, there's nobody. Everybody likes it. He's the one thing that unites Star Wars fandom.
And I find it so interesting when I think about the number of people I have had to like convince to read Alliances because they know Eli's not in Alliances, which is crazy to think about because that is a book with Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker in it. Like the big heavy hitter Star Wars characters. And yet people aren't that interested because they would rather read about this little wild space boy.
They're like, oh, so no Eli? Fuck this. Like,
yeah. The N stands for no Eli.
Please. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I was one of those people with Thrawn Alliances, and I like Thrawn Alliances, but going into it, and I was like, wait, he's not in this one? Fuck. It's not like I was always a big Vader Anakin fan, so like maybe that went into it, but like, yeah, that's a very odd... I can't think of any other characters that would be like that. Maybe some in the High Republic, although you have so many little faves to be around. It's not like, oh, I don't want to read this one because Cantum isn't in it. Or, I mean, I'll be sad, but like, I have other bitches. Like, yeah, Cantum isn't there, but Belle's there, so I'm fine. You know what I mean? It's not the same.
Yeah, and I think a thing that really draws people to Eli is everybody is kind of already like drawn to like you said, like the straight man, like the person who's like, this is weird, I'm here, because like it feels like we're kind of put into that universe because it feels like it feels a bit like us, but a bit most of the time the straight man also has a bit of like, oh, I'm better than all of these people, I'm better than all these weird people. But Eli has such a relatable like self-doubt about him and like overthinkingness about him that like it adds to this like relatability where he's always unsure of himself, and he knows he's good with numbers, but he thinks he's just like pretty good enough to like get through, and like seeing his journey of like realizing how like through Thrawn, especially with like working with Thrawn and everything, their relationship and just himself, like figuring out what he wants to do and who he wants to be. He has such it goes even beyond the regular relatability of a straight man. He has a very interesting character for sure.
I think also, and this is a testament to how gay this shit is, Thrawn 2017 is from the perspective of Thrawn himself writing his notes about his experience, unlike the rest of the books, unlike a lot of Star Wars books. And so I think what makes Eli different is that we are seeing him from we are meeting him and experiencing every single thing about him through the eyes and through the words and the lens of someone who loves him, clearly, but of someone who admires him, and of someone who, like, it's not just like they're telling us about him and he's endearing to us. It's somebody who, like, automatically met him and was like, you are the best motherfucker in this place, and is describing him as awesome to us the whole time. And so, I don't know, we were conditioned by Timmy to be like, yeah, he is the best. Unfortunately, we've been Thrawn pilled. And maybe he's just like okay, but to everybody else, but it's just Thrawn who, maybe we're biased, maybe we're all biased, maybe it's propaganda, maybe Thrawn got our ass, like, I don't know, but
Thrawn was like, I want everyone to know how great Eli Vanto is.
But that's cannot, like, he literally does that. Like,
yeah, I think it's very interesting to see, like, not even just Thrawn's reactions to Eli, but other characters, and especially like in contrast with Eli's own thoughts about himself. Like, there's that conversation that Eli has with Karen Farrow, like at the end of Thrawn 2017, where he says something about, like, there's nothing special about me, and she's like, no, like, you can do things nobody else can do, like, you understand Thrawn, and not everybody does that. And then like, even in Treason, where Ronan is like, I fucking hate this guy, this little traitor, but then he still has to, like, respect him because he figures out something with the numbers in like 5 minutes that nobody else could figure out, and he's like, okay, well, maybe Thrawn had the right idea giving him these numbers and, like, letting him figure stuff out. So yeah, I think it's very interesting to see, like, Eli think, like, I'm not that good, there's nothing special about me, and see all the other characters reacting to him and being like, no, you're great at what you do and you're incredible.
I understand now why the bitches were screaming, crying, and throwing up when the Sherlock Holmes stories were coming out. Like, yeah, I'm sure they liked Sherlock, but they like Watson. Like, it's like through, like, I get it. I totally get it. I would have been one of those girlies, and I mean, granted, I wasn't the super Hulk fandom, so, you know, I was. I was not like a particular Watson fan of any kind. I just liked the show, but I get it. I think it's also like the inherent attractiveness of little guyism. There's always like one guy who's just like a little guy who's really just motherfucking going through it in any piece of media, and you're like, that's my guy. That's my little dude. Kind of like Reed Silas. I feel like. But yeah, I don't know. What about you, Jess?
Wait, what was the question?
Why do you think Eli is special?
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw a picture of Darth Maul waffles, and I was staring at them like, dang, that's really cool looking.
Moffles.
Yeah, Moffles. But I don't know, just the way he's written in the book, he's so relatable, even though I'm not good at math. But I wanted Eli to succeed, really. So, like, watching his growth in the book just makes you go like, dang, he really is a special little guy. I mean, yeah, if like no one else understands Thrawn, and then Eli seems to be like, you know what, actually I think I know what he's thinking about. Although at the same time, Eli is also always doubting himself, and I also find that very relatable, because I'm also just like, is this the right answer? So yeah, Eli, just something about the way Timmy Zahn wrote Eli Vanto. He put some special little sauce in there.
And it's got to be really special sauce, because all of his characters, I feel, even the smallest ones, are so interesting. Like, every little fucking Glup Shittisode. Karen Farrow is interesting. Wutro is interesting.
I love, yeah.
Every little bitch is
Sammy.
interesting.
Even the characters I hate. Like, I am obsessed with Kalori and his
fucking
his stupid little winglets.
Or like fucking
me
Thurfian.
and Ronan.
Thurfian is like one of the most fascinating characters to me.
Yeah, like every character he writes is very fascinating. And then he was like, it's like he put salt and pepper and maybe some garlic powder on like everybody else. But for Eli, he was like, I've been waiting for this one. Turn it up and use some, like, I don't know, seasoning mix.
He put all the spices on Eli.
He just said, I'm going to take a Costco size of every spice and I'm going to dump it on this. And I was like, turn it up, bitch. Also, yeah, Eli is mentioned once in Thrawn Alliances. Doesn't even remember is it just like, where'd he go?
Basically, that's what happened. Isn't it like Karen Farrow's like, whatever happened to Eli Vanto?
She's like, what happened to him? And then she's like, a bunch of people are talking rumors and stuff. It's kind of weird where
She's
he
like,
went.
I'm not gonna bring him up because I think that would make Thrawn sad. So
Yeah.
just leave that one alone.
Bitches think that Thrawn killed him, but I know better. I knew they were gay.
Yeah, that does drive me crazy. I think it's in Treason where she has the line about like, well, Eli Vanto must be dead because I can't see any other reason why he would leave Thrawn.
Even when that bitch is not there, it's gay. Like,
yeah, like Thrawn was dragging Eli around for like years. So like, if Eli suddenly disappeared, everyone's like, he's probably dead because they were like by each other's side for literal years.
I also will never forget the moment in Thrawn Alliances where Vader, Anakin, like tries to like look at Thrawn's brain and he feels it in the Force and he's like, it's so like, it's like organized, like rows of numbers in there. And I was like what? Like what? And I was just like, and then it's in another book or something. And somebody on Tumblr pointed this out. One of the besties from Chiz Twitter is in another book where I believe Eli is like, oh, when I think of numbers, it's like I think of it like art or like music. Is what he says or something like that? And I'm like, that's soulmateism. That is. So you're telling me that Thrawn likes art and yet he organizes all that into neat little rows of numbers in his brain, and then Eli likes numbers and he sees it as art in his brain. Oh God.
I like that Mackenzie has opened her book.
Mackenzie's like, let me get the sacred texts.
He says, perhaps that's why he and Thrawn had worked so well together. Eli had his numbers, Thrawn had his art, and neither skill could be fully understood by anyone else.
Soulmateism.
Timmy, Timmy, what did you mean by that? Timmy, please. I need to meet Timmy one day and just be like, sir, I know you didn't do it on purpose, but I think about it every day. Anyways, I'm gonna start screaming, crying, and throwing up. We got a lot of questions about Eli from the audience. Do you wanna answer some?
Yeah, we can start dipping our toes into the Eli questions. There is a lot. Y'all delivered when I was just like, hey, y'all have questions about Eli Vanto, and everyone coming out of the woodworks being like, I have a question about Eli Vanto.
Okay, our first question is, if Eli was a High Republic stan, who would his fave be? And that's from @PrettyQuotable on Twitter.
I love the questions that are always like, who would they like in the High Republic?
Kevin Tarr? Josh, are you thinking of Kevin Tarr?
I'm trying to remember the name. I forgot who's Kevin Tarr again?
He's the little guy in Light of the Jedi who like engineers shit.
Oh wait, yeah, him too. But I was thinking of the guy who on Starlight, he's like
oh, Stalamaru?
Yes. But no, Kevin Tarr and Stalamaru.
I feel like Ollie has to be here if we're going to talk about Stalamaru.
Ollie would have to be here if we're going to talk about Kevin Tarr also, because Ollie and Mel do be obsessed with Kevin Tarr. They made a whole family and like background for Kevin Tarr.
Do you guys think that he would like Comac Vitus?
Everyone likes Comac Vitus.
Actually,
this might be controversial, but I do think that he would be an Elzar Mann fan because he canonically is, well, maybe not canonically, but I had canon him as an Anakin Skywalker fan. So I think he would also like Elzar Mann.
I mean, yeah, I guess, because he did know who Anakin was. That's why Timmy couldn't put Eli in alliances, because he's like, no, because then I'd have to write about Eli being like, oh my god, Anakin Skywalker was so cool.
But also Padme is in alliances, and we see if we had seen Anakin and Padme and then Thrawn and Eli, the parallels would have been too much.
We can't do this.
The parallels would have been too much, and he was like, no, they're not gonna let me. They're not gonna let me. I had a thought though. I do believe his favorite would be Comac because Comac studies Jedi history and art. That's his whole thing. He's a scholar. He's a book bitch. Just like Thrawn. And I fear he has a type, which is, gay men who love history. He's like, oh yeah, I love a bitch who likes to go to an art museum. I know your type. I've got your number, Eli.
Why was my first thought Mari Santeca?
You know what? I agree with you.
No, I agree. I think
likes
he would like Mars
navigators.
Anteca.
He likes navigators.
He'd be like, oh my god, I know some little girls who are just like you.
Actually, I think Eli researches Mars Anteca while he's doing his like studies trying to figure out what's going on with the navigators.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. He's like, she deserved better. I'm so sorry, Queen.
Yeah.
Okay, this was my other thought. Oh my god, you know why he would also like Comac? One could say that Thrawn also ran into the woods to escape his problems. He was exiled. It was for a mission, but like he did run into the woods.
He was placed in the woods. He didn't run into
He was placed in the woods, and then he kept running into the woods to, trick the Empire before they picked him up.
Through multiple woods, I'm pretty sure. He probably got sent to several different planets before the Empire finally was like, damn, some bitch is living here.
Yeah, and then Eli picked him up and was like, oh my god, he's just like Comac Vitus for real. In this podcast, all we do is talk about Comac Vitus.
DJO, if you're listening, I don't know why you'd be listening, but
DJO is a Thranto fan.
I was about to say.
Oh my, wait, is he? Oh yeah, he liked
retweeted
Thranto.
multiple
Yeah.
things.
Anyway, next
I don't even
question.
think he's read Thrawn 2017. I think he just has seen the fan
But
art
he
and thought
has
it was slay.
retweeted Thranto art from me multiple times.
I'm like, sir, you are such
Oh
an
my
ally
god,
to the
DJO
community.
is just like us, for real, for real.
Now, who asked the Halcyon question?
I think that one's funny. Can we do that one then?
No, not the free marketing question. Fine. What would be Eli's activity of choice on the Halcyon? From HP fan Casey on Twitter.
What is there to do on the Halcyon? I feel like I know nothing about this place.
I saw the Lego special and I read The Princess and the Scoundrel,
Oh,
and I still don't
yeah.
know.
Is the Halcyon Legacy on the Lego special? The summer Lego special?
Yeah, it takes place on the Halcyon and Scarif.
I love these advertisements.
Eli would go hang out in that the temperature controlled room to warm up, because I think the Chiss probably keep their ships really cold because Scylla is a frozen planet, and I bet Eli's freezing all the time because I feel like Lysatra is like a warm planet. So
Yeah, he's from Texas. Like we know
Yeah.
this. He's from Texas.
Unrelated to this, so you bringing up Lysatra, and I was looking at the map that they like made of the Star Wars like universe, and Lysatra's supposed to be in like wild space,
yeah.
but then it kind of like on their map was actually really close to like their line of like what the mid rim
Yeah.
planets was. I was just like, how is that wild space?
The Star
What's
Wars
going on
map
here?
does not make sense.
It does not make
like,
sense.
I think it's supposed to be because space is technically 3D, so I don't know, maybe things are actually farther away than
Yeah.
they appear. But
I
when you
think
look
so.
at it, you're like, all this stuff is like really close together.
Just like freaking Sheila being really close to what the fuck was
Exegol.
Yeah,
Exegol.
Exegol. They're like, what are our neighbors doing over there? None of our business. We're staying out of that. But yeah, anyway.
I think I have my answer. So in Princess and the Scoundrel, this is not a big spoiler. Han Solo decides that he is bored while Leia is like networking and shit. So he decides to like go get a drink, but then he sees some people like going into this like in like back hallways, and then he finds like basically an underground sabacc game with some of the staff. And I feel like that's where Eli would end up, because a bitch loves counting cards. I feel like that's where he would end up. He'd be swindling people. They'd be like, how'd this fucking nerd get here? Why is he besting us? I do believe that's what would be happening.
The only reason I would say that he wouldn't be doing that is because canonically, Eli does not like gambling.
But
Yeah.
but I think, oh, and also, okay, well then I know who he'd be, because in the same section of the book, the reason that Han does it is because they have like, how on cruise ships they have like an activity place, so they have like a room and stuff where you can go play games, and they have like sabacc and whatever, but it's not for money. And he's like, it's not fun if it's not for money. So he like seeks out an illegal game to go play for money and play dirty. So maybe Eli is just like in the cruise ship games room playing bingo. And
Eli
sabacc.
Vanto has the high score on the Halcyon
For
for
bingo.
whatever games there are.
He's playing sabacc without money. He's like earning drink tickets or something.
He could have a Breaking Bad moment and then like go to gambling. He could fall from the stars. I'd like to see that.
Just like
I
Stellan.
was just no.
What?
We can't go down there. I was gonna say maybe he's day drinking like Finn did in the Lego special.
Oh my, not the Eli to Finn pipeline.
I think they would get along.
Finn's middle name is also an N. FN187.
Nar.
I think the activity he would be participating in is people watching the people doing the dancing, like, you know, that they're teaching in the center of the thing, and he'd be like, I don't know if I want to do this. I want to dance, but I don't know if I get the moves. He'd just be overthinking the dancing, so he'd just be like watching and like silence.
What do you think Thrawn would be doing?
Thrawn would also be fucking people watching.
Oh my god.
Thrawn would be like inspecting parts of the ship he should not be on. He'd be like, you know how Princess and the Scoundrel has that one guy that like sneaks on board or whatever, and he just wants to see the engines? That would be Thrawn. Thrawn would be like, I want to go see that engine.
They'll find him, like the staff will find him, and they'll be like, sir, you're not allowed to be down here. How did you get here?
In Princess and the Scoundrel, they also say that like they had a commissioned art piece in there, so there's got to be like art and whatever. So Thrawn is like, Eli's like, honey, we're on vacation, like you shouldn't be doing something. He's like, I gotta go look at all the art gallery. But also they have like an environment room, and that's where like in the Lego special, Rey is like sitting there like reading a book with like a hat on or whatever. I feel like they both would be sitting there like pretending that they're relaxing, but really they're people watching and they're judging people, and they're like, he's calling it his deduction hour or whatever, but really he's just being an asshole. And he's like, the way that they sit shows me that couple is having a fight or some shit like that. Like he's like sitting in a beach chair like covered up. Oh, but Thrawn is wearing the sunglasses.
Not the green sunglasses.
Silly little green sunglasses.
Yeah, he's wearing the hat that Rey had and the silly little green sunglasses. And Eli is walking around in that Hawaiian shirt that Obi-Wan was wearing. You know what? I think they were on the Halcyon at the same time that Leia and Han were. Just never.
Ron was able to deduce that Leia and Han were having troubles with their marriage already.
He was like, you know, or he's like they could be spies from something. You know, they're supposed to be on their honeymoon, but it's clear that they're not staying the night with each other in the room. Spoilers for the book or whatever, but like the two of them are also busy doing other things that like they're not really getting busy in that room at all. And Thrawn's like, and Eli's like, how the fuck did you know? That's so creepy. He's like, I know. I can tell. I can tell they're not fucking. Wait, this just means that Thrawn would know when Ben Solo was conceived. Anyway, I don't want to think about this anymore.
Well, I mean, he knows when Leia was conceived, I feel like.
Wasn't Padme already pregnant with like the twins during alliances?
I thought that it was like, we all theorized that it was like on the way back.
Yeah, that's my theory, is that she got pregnant with the twins on the way back from their little adventure in alliances.
So he deduced that they were going to have kids.
Yes.
On the way back.
He was like, this looks like a man who doesn't use protection. This is horrifying. This is such a horrible. Anyway, next question. Who in the Star Wars universe would be besties with Eli? At Price Mining Co. on Twitter.
Cody.
List your reasons.
I just think that Eli and Cody could be besties. I don't have any reasons. I've talked about this before where I said that Cody actually got sent to the Chiss Ascendancy because Thrawn was like, you know what? He's very Yas and Slay. He can go to the Chiss Ascendancy, and then Cody and Eli meet and then become friends.
They've both been second in commands. They're both gay. They're both very Yas and Slay at logistics. I think they could be friends.
My answer is Sabe, and it's because of the quotes. So Sabe's quote is, my hands are yours for as long as you need them. I was only waiting for you to ask. And then Eli's quote is, I'm quite content to be your aide admiral. It's where I'm supposed to be. And those are the same thing.
And also, you hold my words in your hands.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that too.
Oh, and also, Sabe, same deal. Very gay, has been a second in command. Oh my god, they have to form a little club.
What a group. Eli Vanto, Cody, Sabe.
Who else would be in that club? I'm like,
Wootro.
Oh, yeah.
So true.
Yeah, definitely. Wootro and Cody would definitely get along. And Sabe. Oh my god, they would kiss on the mouth.
Wootro can get along with anyone.
That's true. Except for Thurfian.
Because all the bitches hate Thurfian.
Yeah, who are our main, like, co-leaderships here? Oh, Kanan.
Hera's second in command, you mean?
Yeah, Kanan. I mean, canonically, yes, he is her second in command.
Yeah, but also like the Star Wars Twitter account called him her second in command, remember?
That was the Wikipedia account.
Oh wait, yeah, Wikipedia.
Yeah, I mean, he technically is. The canonical reason that he is Spectre 1 and she is Spectre 2 is for safety reasons, because she is the commander and she is a member of the Rebel Alliance, and they don't want people to know. So if it may make it seem like he is the captain and the leader, then she's always safe. Which is also very funny to me, because he's also a Jedi in hiding, so they're not that smart, but okay.
He would rather her be safe than him.
And he was right for that.
I think that Eli Vanto would be best friends with Will Lark.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not the like dynamic of like they're both second in command, but I feel like they would relate on they overthink a lot. They have a lot of self-doubt. They are both gay. I think they'd have a lot to bond over.
Actually, I think Sinjir Rathvelis also in that. Former Imperials. We just made a whole gay group squad.
I'll ask the next question. We already talked about the High Republic, so I want to bring this one up. At basically Trinity Ann on TikTok asked, do you think Eli would end up recruited by the Nihil as an accountant in the High Republic era, or would he be able to evade the plot?
No, he's not that stupid. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
he's not.
They would try to recruit Eli, but he'd be like, no, thank you.
He's like, and how much are y'all paying?
I was trying to think, the only way I could see him like somehow winding up in league with the Nihil is if he joined like the Graphs or something like that, and then like got mixed up in the Nihil.
Oh, like what's her name?
There? Yeah, I can't think of her name either.
Bitch who got bisected by Elzar.
Freaking
Chancey Yarrow.
Oh, Chancey, I'm so sorry about what happened to you.
Chancey, you were kind of a bitch though, so you know what?
Yeah. Be a better mother.
Yeah. You know, I could see him joining like Lorna's Tempest when she split off, because she's like, I gotta hire the best of the best when she's Ocean's 11ing it, you know what I mean? I could see him joining that, but I couldn't see him joining the Nile. Maybe if he like had to get like the path drive technology, or maybe because he wants to be best friends with Mari Santeca.
Yeah, I could see him being the kind of person that like somehow he's working like with Mari Santeca, and like he has to help get the data that she pulls for the paths or something like that.
Marcion
and then just like
you.
Sticking around because he's like, well, now I feel like I owe this old lady something. She's in this terrible situation. I need to help her somehow. And so like he just like sticks around for a while. Like I could maybe see that, but I couldn't see him like willingly like signing up for the Nihil.
Yeah.
He likes order. He likes stability.
Yeah, when he saw like the Wookiee thing happening, he was like, this is messed up. When he sees something messed up, he's like, this is messed up, and I don't want to really do this.
Yeah.
And he was given an out, albeit a crazy out, but he was given an out, and he was like, yeah, and I'm leaving. And we're done here. We're good. You're done.
Do you think that Eli would have joined the rebellion if given the chance? Asked by @Kerberos Koss on Twitter.
I mean, I think so. We just said, like, with the stuff with the Wookiees, like, I feel like he was already kind of on the pipeline to defecting, kind of like how Callus, like, saw something and was like, hey, that's kind of fucked up.
If he wasn't sent to the Chiss Ascendancy, I feel like he could have defected naturally on his own.
Yeah, I mean, he was already
I think he just needed, like one good stranding on a moon with a giant purple cat, and he would have been gone,
The conversation that, like, Thrawn has with Night Swan? Like, if Eli had that conversation, Eli could have maybe defected. He might have been like, actually, you know what, Night Swan, I'm gonna join you.
Yeah, and Eli does have a conversation with Night Swan, when he's dressed as Horatio Fig or whatever, and I feel like that kind of started him on like a path, and if that conversation would have gotten to be longer, I think Night Swan would have been successful in getting him to defect.
Yeah, I think it would have been a bit of like a tricky thing. I think if he like never met Thrawn, and he was still in the Empire, he still would have defected, but I don't think he would have joined the rebellion, because I think Thrawn really pushed him to take more chances and like more risks and stuff, and I don't think he would have, because he was just in the Empire because he was like, oh, I gotta do this job, I want to work here, and I think he didn't really believe in it. He was just doing it just to work, and so like if he had never met Thrawn, I don't think he would have joined the rebellion. He would have just left. But since he has Thrawn in his life, so I don't think there would have been a chance he would join the rebellion, only if, but I do think in that Night Swan conversation, that would be the closest thing he would have been to like, Thrawn has taught me to take more chances. I've learned to like maybe like fight for what I believe in. I think maybe rebellion time.
Yeah, I would agree with that because you're right. I think like if he had met somebody from the rebellion, just like when he was still on track to be a supply officer, he wouldn't have taken big chances to join the rebellion. He would have like, I think it helped that he was part of the Empire and he got to see these like awful things that the Empire was doing firsthand. But then, yeah, I also agree. The problem was he met Thrawn, and I think him and Thrawn were so close. Like, I don't know that anybody necessarily could have gotten him to defect because he was so loyal, not to the Empire necessarily, but he was loyal to Thrawn. And like they talk about that a lot in Treason, how like Eli doesn't even know if he's loyal to the Ascendancy. He's at the Ascendancy because he's loyal to Thrawn. Like his loyalties lie with Thrawn, not necessarily the Empire or the Ascendancy or anything like that.
I fear, Timmy Zahn, you have written yourself into a corner once again. But also, I mean, this brings up the question always people ask, like, do you think that Thrawn would have defected? I think it's the same thing. If he had been in the Empire any longer, because he saw the absolute fuck up that happened on Lothal and the fact that Palpatine was about to fucking get his ass, and also that like they also said fuck you to his project and stuff, I feel like he would have left. It would have been a little late, but I think he would have left. I think he would have defected if he had stayed longer, mostly because it's one of his faults that he like it took him that long to realize that the Empire is not worth his time. It's not going to help the Ascendancy, and it's not worth his time. But I think, especially because there were lots of people, even like Kira said it, like seeing that the Empire is crumbling and falling apart. And I feel like that would have been like the last straw for him to be like, yeah, no, this is not worth it.
I really think with Thrawn, and you know, part of it, I guess, is Thrawn is my special little guy, so I do want to think the best of him sometimes. But I do really think with Thrawn, if Thrawn had been able to stick around long enough to see the Death Star put into effect, I think the Death Star would have been like the nail in the coffin and Thrawn would have left at that point, because I think he would have realized like the Death Star is dangerous for my people. There's nothing good that the Empire can lend me anymore. At this point, you know, they are more likely to harm my people than to help my people. And so I feel like Thrawn at that point would have defected, but then, you know, he got space willed, so he didn't get that chance. But
yeah, and I don't even know if he would defect. I think he would leave.
I don't think he necessarily, like, I don't think he would go join the rebellion or anything like that. I think he would just go back to the Ascendancy.
Unless he was recruited, like, by somebody who impressed him, like Night Swan or something, to be like, if I could imagine a scenario where someone like Night Swan came back and was like, hey, if you care about your people and them potentially using something like this on your people, then you need to come help us. And him being like, okay, yeah, that's the logical choice. I'm helping you because I don't want this major player to get out of hand here. And also because he's one of the few people who, like, I don't know if he knows that Palpatine is a Sith Lord, but he knows about Vader, and I feel like
he knows at least something is up with Palpatine, or he's just like, something ain't right here.
Yeah, so I feel like he would join the rebellion because he would think it was the most logical thing for him to protect, because he's already sunk cost fallacy the entire Empire, formerly the Republic, lesser space as one might say. I feel like he would stay just because he'd be like, well, I gotta see this one through, try my best. Yeah, Rogue One would have gone really differently if Thrawn was there.
Oh my god. Anyway, next question. This kind of ties into this next question. I feel like they flow well. If Eli wasn't an Imperial or was in a different period of Star Wars, what do you think he would be doing? That was asked by at these rainbow worms on TikTok.
Boring answer, but I think he would have stayed on the supply officer track and just been, or not even on the supply officer track. I think he just would have kept working for his parents' business and then died an uneventful death of old age.
Damn,
somewhere in wild space.
Bleak.
Yeah. That's I really think Thrawn like changed the trajectory of his life.
I mean that's literally the line. That's the line from the book where he's like, sometimes a trajectory of a life changes or whatever, and I was like, damn, all right, pack it up, Jane Austen.
It do be like a butterfly effect or Thrawn was the butterfly flap in Eli's life. But yeah, I agree. Or like if he didn't go to the Imperial Academy to become a supply officer, he probably would have just stayed on Lysatra and worked for the Vanto shipping company.
I will say this. Timmy Zahn said, what would Thrawn be doing if he wasn't in the military? And he said, consulting detective. And I was like,
He's Sherlock Holming.
Now, of course, Watson's story is that he was in the military and then he was not anymore and then meets Sherlock. That is consistent across most adaptations. But I don't know. I don't know if Eli would be helping a consulting detective. Oh, this is so hateful.
That would be the best case scenario, is that Thrawn and Eli somehow still meet and become a detective agency.
Oh, and they kiss on the mouth, obviously. Speaking of kissing on the mouth, somebody asked, is he gonna punch or kiss Thrawn when they reunite? Or both? At Lydia Ostmo.
I mean, I guess that depends on if Thrawn Good Day Lieutenant Vanto's him again.
I love all the fanfics that are like, he does it right back to him. Like, good day. Commander Thrawn or something. I think that's very funny. I don't know. I think it would depend when it is and like where he's at in his life and his healing journey.
He might just freeze up. He might just be like, "You're back. You're back.
Hello."
Hello." Yeah, he'd be nervous. I think. I don't think. I think it'd be worse than good. Like when I was reading Treason, like the entire time when he's like overthinking like how it's gonna be when he meets Thrawn again. Like, first of all, I was like, it's just like me for real, overthinking like re-encounters. And so like he's like overthinking, he's so nervous, and then when it happened he just like he froze up. So I think like if he ever just like runs into him again, it would just like he would totally shut down and be like, this is happening. I don't think he'd be mad or like be like, I mean, he'd be happy to I think it'd be so many emotions that he'd just like shut down or something.
I have kind of like conned myself into thinking that we will eventually get to know if they ever see each other again. And I'm like, actually, no, you're probably not gonna find out. But I like, there's this part of my brain that's like, yeah, obviously we're gonna see that one day. And I'm like, no, you're not, girl. Like, you're not. Like, it's not happening. And they're gonna put Thrawn in the Ahsoka series and they're gonna do things you don't like and it's gonna be dark. And like my mind is just like, no, that's not true. You're gonna find out. And I'm like, no, oh, this is dark. This is so dark.
My answer to this question, and I have thought about this so many times, like if I could draw, I would draw this. But I have in my head so clearly a scene that they should put in the Ahsoka show and they won't, where Eli helps Ahsoka and Sabine find Thrawn and Ezra, and they get off the ship and Thrawn like Eli walks up to Thrawn and punches him right in the face and then kisses him, and then Ezra and Sabine are in the background like, what the fuck?
What did we miss here, love?
Yeah. So yeah, that's how it would go if I was writing the show. I think they should replace Dave Filoni with me. So.
I agree. I like your vision.
What the hell is going on in the House of Commons?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's literally Ezra and Ahsoka if that happened.
The way that I have thought about this so much, it's unhealthy. It's so unhealthy. Like, it's so dark. Like, I think about, there's that, shout out to my favorite Thrawn and Eli fanfic series, Good Day Lieutenant Vanto by Wanton Whale. You're my canon. Fuck Disney. You're my canon. The way they reunite in that fic is so funny. The way they
Oh my god.
The way they reunite in that fic is so legitimately funny. I remember laughing out loud. I was like, this is literature.
Sometimes when I'm having a bad day, I just go reread that scene. Like, because
it's kind of exactly what you described. I don't even want to spoil it for people because it's that good. And like, there's other really good shit in there. I think not Thurfian. Thras is really funny. He's alive. Fuck canon. Am I right? Thras is really funny in that fic. It's just the like logistical gymnastics that fic goes through to create that one scenario is so funny. And then they're like, he is here illegally. He has to go to jail. Everything, it's so ridiculous that you're like, oh, it's crossed into beautiful. Anyway, this is my plug for Good Day Lieutenant Vanto by Wanton Whale. You are everything to me. You are, I don't know, man. Between that and Cherry L's Thrawn and Eli art, you're my reason for living. I don't know. Are there any other fics, Mackenzie, that you can think of that are have good takes on this?
I'm trying to think, like, as far as reuniting goes. I'm very excited to see whatever Sophie's gonna write when Postmortem Part 3 comes out.
Oh my god, Sophie!
Sophie on Twitter. I'm obsessed with your fic.
I'm the one who made her read the Thrawn books. So unlike some other people on this podcast, I have been a Din Luke shipper. I ship multiple people with Din, but there used to be really good. There's also really bad, but there used to be some really good Din Luke fic, and there was one fic that was so phenomenal. It was so good. I was like, I'm thinking about Star Wars in a different way because of this fucking fic and the way it talks about the Force. And the author of that fic, I don't know if we were mutuals and Tumblr or something, but I read their fic and I was like, you've changed my life. And then we were talking on Discord and I was like, you need to read the Thrawn books, blah, 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 if you like gay people. And I finally got her to start reading them and she started like live texting me her thoughts. And then she was like, oh, well, now she finished Rebels and she finished the books, whatever. And like, it took her a bit, but then like, as she's reading them, she's having thoughts and writing them. And I was like, make sure you finish the Ascendancy books first. I promise. Like, it'll make, she's like, and she's like already thinking of ideas, whatever. And then she decides to come out with this fic series that there have been 2 parts to so far, Postmortem, which is just, it's a seminal work of literature.
One is the hardest I've ever cried to a fic. Like I cried literally like the whole 3 hours it took me to read it.
I haven't read the second part yet because I don't want to read it until the third part is out because I have to feel happy. Because the premise of the fic is basically that she's like writing because the Thrawn 2017 is like journal entries. She's writing all the stuff in between that was either implied or described, but not from like a Thrawn's point of view or whatever. So she's like filling in all the blanks. Oh my god.
Well, anyway, thank you for getting her to read the Thrawn books because she's also written apparently a 10,000 word Borika fic.
No! That
I cannot wait for her to publish. I'm so excited about it. It's gonna like destroy me.
Sophie! Oh my god. Also, Eli and Borika would be friends. I've written
about them being friends.
Oh, actually, that brings me to a question that was on TikTok. What do you think Eli's first meeting with Borika is like? I'm certain he gets to meet her after treason. Do you think Bomarmo shared BBQ with him? And that was from @Galaxy of Silver on TikTok.
Yes, I guess. I'm trying to think what to say about this because I feel like
I want to know
so much about it.
I was like, I want to know what you think, Mac, because you're the Borika and Bomarmo expert.
I guess first, just to start off, in case you haven't read Lesser Evil, these are spoilers, but Borika is Thrawn's sister that he doesn't know what happened to because she was taken to be a Chiss navigator, one of the Skywalkers, when they were very young, and they get their memories wiped, so she doesn't realize that she has a brother. She doesn't remember him. And then Bomarmo is her husband, who is only mentioned twice. All she says about him is that he is her husband and that they own the ranch together. And Bomarmo has essentially turned into my OC, basically.
You are the literal queen of Borika and Bomarmo Twitter.
I talk about him so much, and like he barely exists as a character, but yeah, so I do think him and Eli have a lot in common. I think it's very interesting that both Thrawn and Borika found these little country boys. And so I think him and Eli would get along very well. And then I think Borika is like my dream, of course, is that Eli would come to work at the Seeker Shade House with Borika to try to figure out like what is the best course of action with the Skywalkers, like what can they do to improve their sight, things like that. And so I think Borika would be cautious of Eli at first because just with the way she acted with Thalius, like she was not super into this new person being at the ranch. So I think introducing a new human, when we all know how like the Chiss kind of react to aliens, I think that she would be very cautious of Eli at first, but then I think Eli would kind of prove himself to her, like how good he is with numbers and figuring these things out. And I think she would very quickly be able to see like his worth. And yeah, so I think they would also work very well together. And I'm just going to add this. So the very first fic that I wrote about Borika was actually about Eli Vanto coming to work at Ardok Ranch. And one of the things I added to that fic that I really like was Eli every night would tell the Skywalkers stories about his adventures with Thrawn. And as he told these stories about Thrawn, slowly Borika started to remember stuff about her childhood with Thrawn.
Oh, no, I remember this.
Yeah. So anyway, I really like that idea. If Borika never shows up in canon because they don't pay attention to the books and don't care about her character, everything I've written about her is then by default becomes canon. So just keep that in mind.
Obviously. I like how we were like, we're talking about Eli, but we're also talking about Borika because Mackenzie's here. Also, this is a breaking news alert. I was on the Wikipedia page for Eli and I scrolled down to like, oh, here's all the media that he's appeared in. What I didn't know was that he also appears as an upgrade card in the Star Wars Armada 2-player trading card game. There is an Eli Vanto card, Commander Vanto, in Star Wars Armada. So our boy is a collectible.
I need to find this card immediately.
Yeah, he's an officer upgrade card. There's like a video on YouTube. I'm about like how to play this video. Wow, they have like videos about like here's how to play with the different cards and the tokens. It's very complex. I'm like, I'm too stupid for this. But yeah, he's a special little guy in a trading card game. I didn't know that. I think that's very slay. So you know what?
He's an upgrade.
So yeah, if he can appear in other Star Wars media, he can appear in the Ahsoka show. Case and point.
I heard they're taking a lot of inspiration from the Armada trading card game for Ahsoka. They're taking a lot of inspiration from that for the show.
I can't with that.
What other questions do we have, Jess?
We can do like lightning round with like some of the quick questions.
All right, let's do lightning round.
The silly little questions like which of you could fix him? Asked by Cosplay Naberi on Twitter.
What the fuck is there to fix?
Yeah, I was about to say, he doesn't need to be fixed.
If he needed to be fixed, I could not. We would both be overthinking and I'd be adding flame to the fire. I could not help out. Sorry, Eli.
You could make him worse.
He has. I mean, that's what Thrawn did. Thrawn looked at him and he went, I could make him worse. That's exactly what he did. Actually, and Eli eventually was like, they were like, could you fix him? And he was like, no, I would encourage him.
Yeah, I think Eli's perfect. I don't think he needs to be fixed. The next question was, does Eli Vanto is gay? Asked by @CalebStoom. Pretty sure on Twitter. And we've said this multiple times throughout this episode already. Yes,
he does.
Eli Vanto is gay.
Yes.
Yeah, he's actually the only gay Star Wars character. It's just him. No, in when I was on Gold Squadron Gays and we talked about the Thrawn books, literally they read it and they're like, yeah, I've never read a Star Wars book that so encapsulated the experience of what it's like to be a gay man. And I was like, exactly. Case in the point. Thank you.
And something I think gets forgotten a lot is it's not just Eli's interactions with Thrawn, but there's the whole part in Treason where he talks about the Death Troopers, and the way he describes them is not a way that a straight man describes other men.
The inherent homoeroticism of the military strikes again. But it's true because other men also don't act like that. It's just Eli. And you're like, what's up with that?
Eli's just a special little guy, you know? As Ollie and Mel often say, I think Eli has T-guy swag, but is also swagapino. Sorry.
I think he's a swagapino from Texas. I think that's just how I imagine him in my head.
The next question, this is from TikTok, @NinjaHobbit626 asked, do you reckon he has a cowboy hat?
I think Thrawn got him a new one for his birthday.
Yeah, he has his old cowboy hat that he brought with him from Lysatra, and then Thrawn was like, "Here you go, I got you a new one."
And like the thing that wraps around the hat, I don't know what it's called, but it has like different like chist designs, like chimeras and stuff around it.
He got one made for Thrawn.
Mm.
Cheeriel, if you are listening, please draw them in little cowboy hats together, please.
Anyone who's good at art and is listening, if you want to draw Thrawn and Eli in cowboy hats.
Mm-hmm.
They're square dancing. They're in love.
On the Halcyon Legacy, they're square dancing with their cowboy hats.
No.
Wait, they would go to like line dancing classes.
Next question. At Lily is Grogu on TikTok asked, is Eli president of the Imperial GSA?
I fear the Imperial GSA, as we've stated before, is just
The Chimera?
ISS Chimera. So, I mean, he is the lieutenant commander, so I fear the answer is yes.
He
That would
might
make
be
him the vice
treasurer.
president, though, or like the treasurer, yeah.
Yeah.
So that would make Karen Farrow the vice president. Who's the president of the I mean, I guess that makes Thrawn the president of the GSA, but I mean, it makes sense, I guess.
Did we ever each discuss why we like Eli Vanto as a character?
We talked about like why people are drawn to him, but I don't think we talked about why us personally like him.
Yeah. All right. Why do each of you like Eli?
Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I think from like reading the book, I just liked his character of like from when we first saw him, of like his conversations with Thrawn on the rooftop, like whenever like either on the rooftops or like through the hallways, whenever they were just like having a conversation, I loved how Eli would ask all the questions I would want to ask or something. So like immediately I was like, oh, that's cool. He's asking, and then all of a sudden we see more of him and we see like his and I've been saying a lot through this episode, just like me for real. Like I'm really drawn to like he overthinks like everything. I'm like, hey, that's cool. It's a cool guy. Overthinking is cool. And so I think like like I said earlier, he has like an inherent relatability to him. And I think also just his like arc of like seeing the way the Empire truly is very interesting, like with the Wookiees and everything, and how he's not comfortable with lots of bad stuff. He's trying to figure out if he's willing to like stand and like fight against it. And then when he goes and leaves the Ascendancy, he's still confused. And so that's why I'd like to see more books from him, because I'd like to see like where he goes, how if he fights even harder, or if how his beliefs change. But anyways, I think he's a really interesting character, and I think he's very relatable, and I think he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy.
Yeah, I would agree with a lot of that. Like I really like what you said about how you liked that Eli asks the same questions you do, because I do think that's one of the things that's really relatable. Like I feel like a lot of the time when I read books and there's like a character that's meant to be kind of like the reader insight or whatever, sometimes they'll ask questions and I'll be like, that's a dumbass question. Why did you ask that? And I hardly ever feel that way with Eli. Like I feel like he asks legitimately questions that I would ask, like that I want the answers to as a reader, without it being too like overhanded, I guess, that like you're trying to get the plot out of Thrawn basically. And I also really like that Eli will ask these questions, but as he's asking the questions, he like comes up with his own answers too. And like that'll happen a lot, just kind of showing like how smart he is, things like that. And then also, I know a lot of people don't relate to the math aspect of him, but I do, because I do like math. I am a data analyst, which is kind of like Eli's job. So I find that
Outing
really
yourself
relatable.
as a woman in STEM.
I am. I guess. But yeah, so I do like that. Like I felt like his job was relatable to me, and it's interesting because I feel like I don't necessarily, because being honest, a data analyst is not a super interesting job. Just being an analyst in general is not that interesting, but like, I don't know, the way it describes what Eli does, like makes it seem really important, and I guess makes me feel kind of good about my job and things like that. And then I also just like how Eli interacts with the people around him. Like I like that he doesn't really put up with a bunch of bullshit from like Ronan or people like that. And I really like his interactions with Thrawn and then the rest of the Chiss. Like it's so different, I feel like, than a lot of the interactions that we get to see with people in the Empire and Thrawn, how, you know, they are so like xenophobic to him. But then like Eli kind of gets the reverse of it when he goes to the Ascendancy, because he's the odd, like he's an odd one out in the Empire, but then he's also the odd one out in the Ascendancy because he's the only human. So like Eli's just really going through it, but he kind of like takes it in stride. Like he understands what it's like to be different from everyone else, and he doesn't really like let it phase him. And so I really like that aspect of his character too. Yeah.
For me, when I first, or I guess before I read the Thrawn books, and I watched Rebels, and then I was like, oh, Thrawn seems cool. And my friends are all talking about the Thrawn books and saying they're really good, so I should read this. Although I had discovered who Eli was because I did read some Thrawn fanfic, and I was just like, who the fuck is this Eli person? And at first I was like,
Who the fuck is Eli?
Then when I started reading it, I was just like, wow, I can see why everyone is hyping up this Eli guy. He is very relatable, like what Josh said. Yeah, I don't know why I latched onto Eli and was like, this is a special little guy. He's like my second favorite Star Wars character, I think, right after Boba Fett, before Commander Cody.
Before Commander Cody.
That's how special Eli is. Sorry to shout out to Cody, but sorry to Cody. I'm really trying to figure out why I latched onto Eli.
That's Thrawn. People are like, why do you like Eli? He's like, I don't know. He's just like my special guy. Like, I don't know.
I also enjoyed Mark Thompson's portrayal of Eli in the audiobooks, making him a little Southern boy. Something about that was also very fun. Maybe I enjoy cowboys like Noah. I don't know.
No, I think Mark Thompson is also a big reason why the bitches are crazy about him, because they were like, here's this suave man Thrawn, and then they're like, hey, I'm Eli, and I'm really confused all the time, honestly. That's a really shit accent. I actually do better accents than that. I don't know what that was. I'm tired.
Yeah, I guess.
Confession, and that is, so I read all the books before I ever listened to the audiobook, and the first time that I listened to the audiobook, I was like, what the fuck did they do to Eli's voice? I hated his voice the first time I listened to the audiobook, and I think it's because I am Southern, and so it's a very different Southern accent than like the Southern accent that I'm used to, because it's like a different region. Like Eli's is a lot more like Texan, I think.
Exactly, and that's
which
why
is
he's
not
from Texas.
Which, like, so I'm used to people speaking in the Southern accent, but not Texas Southern. So when I first heard it, I was like, it sounds like somebody doing a fake Southern accent. And I hate it when people do fake Southern accents. So I really didn't like it at first, but then I got used to it and I really do like it now. So, yeah.
That's so funny.
But yeah, the first time I listened to it, I was like, why are they doing a fake Southern accent for Eli Vanto?
Because Timmy said he's from Texas.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I think also just like, putting Eli in comparison to Thrawn, I was just like, I love just your average guy, the trope of being just some guy compared to like Thrawn, who people were like, oh, this guy, he's a special little guy too, but like, in a kind of weird way. In the tism way.
He's a fucked up little guy, and Eli is just a little guy.
Yeah, but the trope of just some guy who's kind of like there at first. He's like, I don't know why I'm here. I didn't want to be here. And I was like, that's relatable too. Because a lot of the time, I also don't want to be here. But then you get dragged around by your friend, and then you realize, actually, this is kind of slay.
Not you being the Eli of this podcast.
Am I just some guy of the podcast?
You're the most slay and smart one here, but half the time you're like, I want to leave.
Because most of the time y'all are holding me captive as you talk about something I don't understand. Because I'm like, what are they talking about? Who is this person that they're talking about?
So they do perform Gen Z on millennial violence on us a lot. Why do I like Eli? I definitely agree. Little guyism is so powerful, and also in the audiobook, like they really were like, we're gonna just. He's just so fun. And I think like I'm very partial to Star Wars characters, or really any, especially in like a fantasy or a sci-fi setting, a character who's just like supremely normal, who's just like the straight man character who's like, this shit is fucked up. Or be like, are you, like, he reacts the same way I would react, being like, this is what I was supposed to study in college. What do you mean? What do you mean I have to? He's like, I'm literally about to fucking graduate, and now I gotta translate for this fucking asshole. What the fuck? Are you kidding me? He's very relatable. He's very relatable, and then he heard Thrawn speak for the first time, and then he was like, you know what? I'll consider it. he's kind of sexy, but I'm not gonna admit
like
it.
they were being racist towards Thrawn because they're like, "Can you fucking speak basic?" And then Eli's like, "Hold on, hold my drink. I know how to speak this language." He's like, Do you know how to speak Saibisti?"
I do really love that moment because I feel like it shows a lot about Eli's character because like he didn't really have to do that, and he like reached out with a little bit of kindness, like spoke out of turn. Like he was just not even an ensign. What is that? Like the person in training. I can't think of the word.
He's a
But anyway,
cadet.
yeah, he was a
just a
cadet.
cadet.
He was just a cadet. He like wasn't really supposed to be there and kind of spoke out of turn to like offer kindness to this alien because he wasn't sure if the alien was going to be able to understand basic and he wanted to be able to communicate. Yeah, and I just think that says a lot about his character.
Yeah, he has all these moments of kindness which really stand out when it's supposed to be this like military story and this very like, I think also like, I didn't think I was gonna like the Thrawn books, whatever, because like I like Star Wars for the magic, which they do eventually bring that in a little bit, but I and stuff. And while I do like hard sci-fi, that's not what I come to Star Wars for. And I could give half a shit about the battles or whatever. But the cool part about the Thrawn books is that like maybe the real battle tactics are the friends we made along the way, and it's very and he's like there, I mean, everybody knows this, about like there's passages in that book that like make me genuinely emotional, like the last one, whatever. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking cry. And again, I think it's also because like you are seeing Eli through the eyes of someone who literally loves him. You're like, I love him too, I do. I don't know. It might be the inherent homoeroticism of like a school story, because like they spend half of it when they're in school and then the other half, or just like it's very endearing when you get to like see two people have to like struggle through stuff together. Also, I love the trope of like they're neurodivergent in two different ways and they're besties. Which I love. I love that very much. I cannot relate to being good at math, which is why I'm just like, he's so slay. I don't get it, but he's very slay. I don't know. I think he, and this is just a Timmy Zahn thing in general, like he feels like a real person, which sometimes while we love certain characters, like we have to fill in a lot of the blanks for them. Like he's only in 2 fucking books, but like we don't have to fill in a lot about we have to fill in a lot about like other stuff. But, like, mostly that's, like, plot-wise for him. For his personality, like, we don't really have to make shit up for him. He's, like, all personality. Also, the way they drew him in the comic books. Again, special sauce. They really put their foot on the gas with the little guyism in that one, because I don't know. He's just...
They read that line where that one random guy calls Eli Vanto pretty boy and just ran with it. Like,
they're like, okay, we'll make a pretty boy. Gotcha, Timmy Zahn.
I forgot about
Noted.
that. I forgot that they called him a Timothy Zahn.
When I first read that part in the Thrawn book, I was just like, huh? I was like, Eli is a pretty boy? Maybe that's also why I like Eli. I've always been drawn to pretty boy characters.
He's the anime protagonist, unfortunately.
But he's got the hair for it, you know?
Yeah, he's
absolutely
got the scruffy little hair.
He's, you know, he's always trying to get senpai to notice him. It's very... it's very... Oh, no. Not the anime-ification of Eli.
Would like to say something about the comic. One of the things I love about the comic is so like Timothy Zahn is not great at describing characters. Like you don't know what any of these people look like. So one of the things I really like about the comic is it made Eli canonically a person of color, which I think is awesome and like adds so much to his story, because he's not just you know, a guy from Texas. He's a person of color from Texas having to like work in the empire and deal with all this like racism and everything, you know, all the time. And so like I think that is something important to note. And I didn't really know this until recently, but when the comic first came out, they did make Eli white, and there was a lot of like blowback from fans because they were like, it makes way more sense for him to be a person of color, you know, like that's how we read it, and we think that you should change the skin color. Like it was basically like a whitewash the Bad Batch situation. No, it was just like the first look. I don't know how much of the comic was actually colored.
This I remember.
But it was like the first look. Eli was like some little ginger guy. And
is that why there's fan art of Eli, like old fan art where he's redhead.
Yeah,
that's
it was
pretty
like
much
the
it.
first look or something. Well, and I think it wasn't like the final or something. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't like, oh, they changed it because of the fan. I mean, they did somewhat, but like, or it was like just a cover or something that had to be white.
It
And
was
then the
like
rest
the
of it
shot.
was like,
Yeah. There was
oh.
like 1 or 2 panels that were released where Eli was white. And, there was a lot of like fans that said, like, emailed Lucasfilm, or I guess not Lucasfilm, whoever the publishing is for the comics, and was like, I don't think that that's necessarily the way that we should go with Eli, and
The
a lot of
Thrawn
other
comic,
stuff.
I think, is still Marvel.
Yeah, maybe that was it then.
Yeah, it's Marvel.
And yeah, so that's the story I've heard, at least. I was not in the fandom back then, but that, there was a lot of pushback about it. And so they changed Eli's character design, which, like, it's great that they can do that. They should do that for the Bad Batch.
Yeah, they should do that for the Bad Batch.
I'm very glad that Eli he's another. We got him, boys. We got another space Latino. No, he said he was Swagapino.
Yeah, me, Mel, and Ollie were like Eli Vanto Swagapino.
Yeah, I fear he's a Texas born and raised Swagapino. We decided that. We also, what's something that comes up in fics with him a lot because he's from Texas, that like traditional West Southern food is just barbecue. Every time I forget that comes up all the time, and it just makes me laugh.
I really like the trope in fics where Thrawn can't eat spicy food and Eli can because he's used to it.
Oh, that's very funny to me.
I feel like I do see that one a lot. I used to see it a lot more, but I do see it every now and then.
Let's bring it back.
Yeah. Write more about Thrawn not being able to handle spicy food.
I do love when Chiss Twitter and Chiss fans have all decided on one thing, and we just all agree that that's true. Did we want to answer any other questions? Have any other thoughts about Eli? No? Yes?
No.
Maybe?
Besides just saying, again, that Eli's very slay, and some of my favorite Eli moments were when he first meets Thrawn and like offers to, he's like, I can speak Sivesti if you can understand that language. Or the time when that one old lady was like, oh, do you want to come work for my boss instead? You'll get promoted. And then Eli was like, wait, this is suspicious. I think you have bad intentions towards my bestie Thrawn, and I'm not going to go along with you. And she's like, you'll regret it. I think that was also a very Yas and Slay moment for Eli, because he's like, no, I'm going to stay with Thrawn because you're a trick ass bitch. That's not what he said, but I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, lots of very Yas and Slay Eli moments. I also liked when Thrawn threw him into a bush. I thought that was funny.
He was like, I have to protect my boyfriend, throws him into a bush. Ugh.
And the part in the audiobook where Mark Thompson made Eli go, whoa.
Yeah. Also, in the comic, when he's dressed as Horatio Fig or whatever, he looks very slay. I was like, all right, Thrawn, I get it. Okay, all right.
I remember when I first read that part in the book, and then reading Eli like saying that the shirt was like bigger than him, and I was like, much to think about. Because he's like, whoa, the sleeves go over my hands. This shirt is so big on me. I'm just like,
Yeah, remember when they were trying on each other's clothes? And they were roommates. Oh my god, they were roommates.
The boyfriends doing a clothing swap is just like a staple, you gotta put that in there.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if I've seen this in some fics or not, where people do the like, Eli has climbed the ranks in the Ascendancy by the time he sees Thrawn again, and he's in Admiral Whites or whatever, and Thrawn's like, okay, hello, how you doing? I'm a sucker for that one. Anyways, everybody send me Thranto fic recs, because I need the serotonin. Thank you so much.
One of my favorite Eli moments, well, a lot of my favorite Eli moments are actually in Treason, because he gets to go off and do his own thing in Treason. So he does a lot of cool stuff. Like when he just starts like improving when they get caught by those like smuggler guys or whatever. That's very cool. He thinks about like smashing a guy with a chair. That's very cool. There's that moment where he gets like really pissed and says that he thinks about letting the Death Troopers just kill everybody.
Yeah,
and
that was really good.
Him being relatable again, because I have moments like that too.
Like, sir, are you all right? Sir, sir.
Yeah. Oh, and then also I have to put in my little plug about how I think Good Day Lieutenant Vanto is not that bad. I mean, like, it's bad, but also one of the things I really like about the Good Day Lieutenant Vanto moment is immediately after it happens, Thrawn like asks him a question and Eli like just jumps right back into like his old mode that he and Thrawn used to be in. And I just really love that about the relationship.
Like they hadn't been separated for a year.
Yeah, Eli just dealt with like a devastating moment, but like when Thrawn needs him, he's there.
That moment is also very relatable because like something like that happens to me and I also am just like, what the fuck does that mean? And start overthinking it and do mental gymnastics to be like, you know what, actually, no, it's okay. It's okay. Everything is fine. Everything is okay.
The Good Day Lieutenant Vanto, the way that I rationalize it to myself is that Thrawn is neurodivergent, obviously, and Thrawn also doesn't know what to say, so he freezes up and he's like, good day, Lieutenant Vanto. Like, he also goes back into his mode or whatever, and Eli is like, how did you do this to me? Like 5 seconds after, but like Thrawn is like, this is the only person I've ever felt this strong of an emotion for. I don't know what to do. And he just was like, because he's also like, he's having kind of a day that day. Like, there's a lot going on. Bunch of shit was happening on Lothal. He just like saw his sister again for the first time in like ever. And now he's like, good day, Lieutenant Vanto. I just think he's like having a moment. And you can kind of tell because he immediately starts talking about Eli to other people, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, he was just nervous. Like, I'm rationalizing.
He defends Eli like pretty hardcore to Brierly Ronan.
God,
calls him a fool.
Like, the way he goes into defense mode, I was like, oh, you are homosexual. God, I think about that all the time. I think about it. It sticks out of my brain also because when I read Thrawn Alliances for the first time, Thrawn Treason, the rage that I felt when they were like, oh, good day, Lieutenant Vanto. And then they were like, oh yeah, Eli has some sort of feelings toward Vanya. And I was like, get that shit out of... I was so mad. Then now I have to look back on it and really think and really ponder. Timothy, why?
Josh, did you have any thoughts?
Yeah.
On specifically Good Day,
Lieutenant? Or just anything about Eli?
Just anything about Eli? Well, I think one of my favorite things about him and Treason was how like every other minute he'd ask if Thrawn had shown up yet. Like, he kept asking at any moment, at any chance, he could be like, has Thrawn shown up yet? Is he here yet, by the way? I just love how I just love those bits in there. And also number 2, I will forever love that poster of him in the Ascendancy outfit, and I need that poster in my room because it's a clean outfit. He looks great in that. That's like his outfit.
He's just so, Star Wars, can you just like give us like something on the side with Eli? Like, can you like throw some crumbs at the LGBTs and be like, here you go? And
Star Wars, I know Timmy Zahn said he'd be interested in writing more characters. Like, Eli is one of them. So let Timmy Zahn write the Eli Vanto trilogy that we all deserve.
Like, throw us a bone. Like, you know what? Make Eli canonically gay and like a side thing with one line. I'll take it. I'll swallow my pride and I'll take it. Oh, this is low. This is so low.
I think that's basically it. Did we want to wrap it up, Klaudia?
Yes. So thank you for listening to our latest Glup Shittisode. We hope you enjoyed our discussion on our bestie, our boy, Eli Vanto. Our RuPalp's episodes usually drop on Sundays. Currently, we are bi-weekly until Andor premieres. Our next 2 episodes, we have something very cool and fun and Yas and Slay planned. So stay tuned 2 weeks from now. Get excited. For updates, Star Wars news, more cursed shit, weird fucking tweets. Follow us on our social media at RuPalp's Podrace on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you really love the show, please rate and review it on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Spotify, Overcast, whatever your podcast platform of choice is if they have a rating and review system. If you haven't done it already, please and thank you. It means a lot to us. And may Warrior's Fortune smile on you and don't crip it up.
Good day, Waka Waka.
Get out.